honestly, I think training jiu-jitsu in general helps a lot. Like we talked about with the confidence, but also like where you get into like a hectic situation at work, you're able to more calmly think about the situation and make better decisions.
When you train, there's just something about you that people, it's like evolutionary. There's people that look at you and be like, oh, you don't want to like really fuck with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. In general, like across the board, shooting, defensive tactics, law, you learn as a cop, you learn in the academy, you learn how to do those, and it's basic. As a student of the craft, you need to go beyond what the department requires. Something goes wrong, it looks horrible, right? Those are the things that make the news.
The negative stuff.
The negative
Pretty
stuff,
much.
yeah.
What do you think is more important? Is it gun training or is it hands-on like jiu-jitsu grappling?
Like I said, I love shooting, and I think it's super important. I think everybody needs it.
Yep.
But you are going to go hands-on way more often than you are going to get into the shooting.
That's true.
Statistically. As cops, we're accountable for every single round. So I have to be accurate with my shots. I have to be able to identify my target. I have to make sure there's no kids behind them, make sure there's nothing behind them, and then put accurate rounds down range.
My boy Cam, man. So tell me this, man. What do you think? You've been in the police department for how long now?
9.5 years.
9.5 years, yeah. So you train jiu-jitsu, right?
Yep.
I want to say that off the bat. And you also, I've seen your videos and now you're training striking, right?
Yeah, I've been on and off with striking. I definitely don't do it enough, but
Sure.
I try to get it in a couple of times a month.
Yeah. So I guess my first question would be, what do you think the police, like as a whole, and not just in Vegas, needs to implement more as far as like combat training to be able to go out in the field efficiently to handle situations?
In general, I would say, like for our department, I think we do a good job at what we teach. I think the biggest thing I would say for most departments is it needs to be more often, more consistent.
Yeah.
Just like, so for our department, like it's mandatory to train a minimum, do defensive tactics at least 4 times a year. It's once per quarter. And it's a couple hours, it's, a few hours, but I mean, that's the mandatory minimum, right?
Right.
Now, there's other departments where it's even less than that. And there's some departments where it's basically non-existent, or they're still teaching like, let's say Aikido style stuff that may work sometimes and may not work other times. Like I said, I think our department in general is very progressive and really good at what we teach. But I think it just needs to be more. Like, as well as I do with training, either striking or jiu-jitsu, if you only do it 4 times a year or even say once a month, like you're not going to be that good.
Yeah. You like, can you, I know you're deep into it. You've been doing jiu-jitsu, for a while. Did you have anything to do with that, or was that already implemented going in with your department?
So with my department,
did you have influence in that? Sorry.
No, I did not have any influence in it. It was already kind of established. Chad Lyman, who's a cop for our department, him and a couple other people kind of helped develop what our program is now. Before I even got there, so that's had a lot of influence on it. Chad actually has his own company that goes around the country and teaches cops, and it's a jiu-jitsu based stuff. It's actually on my shirt there. C4C PJJ.
So would you consider it kind of like sheepdog response? A little bit? Is that kind of like the model?
Yeah. I would say it's similar. He doesn't really get too much into like the shooting aspect like I think Sheepdog does. I don't know all the things that Sheepdog does. Sure. I've never taken one of their classes.
Me neither. I just see like clips, and then I know they do a lot of like real life. Like if someone has a knife, and I know they, how to disarm someone. And all that stuff.
Yeah. So they involve that. It's a lot more, I think, jiu-jitsu. So PJJ is police jiu-jitsu. So it's jiu-jitsu based, basically focusing on what's the outcome we want, to take somebody into custody, right? So we're not necessarily going over submissions. We're going over control tactics, how to take people down, how to control them, and how to take them into custody. Yeah.
Can you go into a little bit more of that, so that like regular jiu-jitsu practitioners, what would you say is the biggest difference between, like, say, if you're a hobbyist in jiu-jitsu and then the level of training that PJJ does? Like, what do they teach you in particular? What's going on, guys? Just a quick announcement. If you're watching and listening on YouTube, if I can ask you, please hit the like and subscribe button. And also, if you're listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, if you can leave a quick review and hit the follow button, It really helps out to reach to more audiences. And as always, thank you for your love and support. And now back to the show.
So it's obviously no submissions, right? We're not teaching
Sure.
chokes or arm breaks or anything like that. But it's
Like none at all?
none at all.
Okay, okay.
Basically most states now, any kind of neck restraint's illegal, including our state.
Interesting. I
So
didn't know
cops
that.
cannot do that. It's illegal.
Is that like a what's it called? Is that a new thing? I don't know too much about the
last couple of years. It came into law that
Because-
cops can. Yeah, when I first got on, we had a neck restraint that was taught, but then after the law passed, obviously that's no longer a thing.
Right. What do you think about that?
It's the law, so I just kind of follow it. So
Yeah, true. Yeah.
now I think if you know what you're doing, the problem is that people have not known what they were doing or maybe applied something incorrectly, and so it gets real deep into the weeds with the science about that. But if you could technically choke somebody and not kill them, if let's say deadly force is something you can use is legal at that point in time based on their resistance or based on what the subject is doing, that might have been a better outcome. But obviously, it doesn't matter anymore because we can't do it. So it's nothing.
Yeah.
So at least in our state, we can't do any kind of neck restraint.
What is the boundary on that? So there's neck restraint, but then would it be considered if you wrapped your forearm, say, around that? Is that neck restraint?
Any encircling of the neck.
Oh, man.
So you can't do that at all.
Yeah. But then in your eyes, like you practice jiu-jitsu, right? Like, you go to Zangief, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trained to think.
And I would imagine it'd be a habit for you. You know what I mean? It's like you're trying to get people in the RNC and then it's almost like second nature, maybe. I mean, not that you do it.
No,
don't get me wrong.
I understand what you're saying. I mean, it's very. I mean, in my mind, it's very separate, right? Like, I go jujitsu and I train and I'll choke people out in training all the time or in competition. But like when you're in uniform and you're doing it, it's completely different. Like that's in this box and police jujitsu is in this box, and when I'm in uniform doing top stuff, I'm all the way over here, and that's other than just knowing how the body works, my mindset is completely different.
Interesting. Yeah. So you can easily distinguish, like you could separate the two.
Yeah.
Is that caused to your level of training in the police force? Like, or is it just a sense of awareness in your head that it's like, that's a big no-no. Like I can't put the stranglehold on there. Do you have to constantly think about that all the time if you're restraining someone?
Honestly, no. It's like I said, it's the goal, right? So if I'm, doing jujitsu and I'm trying to, put a rear naked choke on somebody, that's my goal, right? I want to tap this person out. So in training, that's what I'm looking at. When I'm, put on the uniform, when I'm going out and I'm a cop, my frame of thought is I need to put this person into custody. I need to put them in handcuffs. So my focus is controlling him, putting him in handcuffs, right? Taking him into custody. It's not, can I get this person to tap? So my goal is completely different. So it's never, in my mind anyways, I've never really got those lines crossed.
I would have figured like, say, obviously you're a man of like bigger stature, right? How do you go about that? Like, say, just for basics, you're trying to restrain someone. Are you like really top heavy? Like, what kind of tactics and strategies are you using? You know what I mean? Like, are you doing are you flattening them to the ground and using side control? Like, I know it depends if the person's standing up, obviously, but what do you find is the most effective to restrain someone? So that's not a basic enough question.
I mean, there's a lot of thoughts on that. Like what we use generally is a prone restraint, basically. So we call it segmenting. We kind of break up the body. Like if you're trying to control somebody, you think about shoulder line, hip line. We're trying to control the hips because the people can move their hips. They can start to get out. We control the shoulder line. We can, and we control the head. If you can control those 3 points of somebody's body, you can control them. The idea is to prone them out, get them flattened out. We use 2 or 3 people, get the hands, and it's just a temporary position to put them into custody.
Right. What's your like emotional state when that happens, man? When you're trying to restrain someone, are you used to it by now because of the level of you've been in the force for 9.5 years? Is it kind of just like, oh, here's another one, or are you like hyper aware of like really what's going on? Like, are you tripping out? You know what I mean? Still till this day, or
I think after since I've been training, it's gotten a lot easier. Like I think when I first started as being a cop, like you get in those positions and you haven't been in them before. And I mean, obviously it depends on what the details of the call are or what you're dealing with, right? And what the suspect is doing. But like you'll get nervous, like just like everything else, right? Like if you're about to get into a fight, even in an MMA fight in a controlled environment, like you get that nerves, like, oh shoot, what's going to happen?
Even if you're skilled. Yeah.
Even if you're skilled.
Right.
Yeah. So like once you get to the point where, like for me, once you start training, I think there's been like studies on it too. Like once you kind of get through that point of, I have confidence. So I know I've got good abilities.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yep.
2, I'm confident in my abilities. I know what I can do. And then also like 1, as cops, we generally have people with us to help us out, right? Like I said. But I lost my train of thought now.
No, it's just like how do you go about the situation?
Yeah. So with that, like if I know my abilities, I know what I can do, and I've got my team with me. If I have a team, if I'm solo, then, kind of waiting for that team, trying to figure out, trying to de-escalate the situation so we can just peacefully put them in handcuffs. But shoot, man, say it again. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Say, no, not at all. Say if you're like getting, you're going into like a hot
dynamic
situation. I know that you have to wait for your backup.
Oh yeah,
but
there
how,
we go.
Yeah. Like, how are you feeling towards that? How do you approach it?
Yeah.
How are you? What's your mindset? Like, going in, are you like, fuck, all right, this is heavy. We got to get like really tactical, or are you just like kind of going there, guns and blazing? Which probably not.
No,
like,
it's always. I mean, obviously, our first goal is to de-escalate, right? If I've got somebody that's really aggressive and I can talk him down and just be like, look, bro, like this is gonna go. We can make this easy, and you may go to jail, but this is gonna be a lot easier if we work together and communicate with them and can talk him down to where it all goes peacefully. That's our number 1 goal, right?
But I'm talking about like
but
if the situation's hot
he's
already.
Like he wants to punch me, or he's trying to pull away after we're going into trying to take him into custody.
Yes.
Yeah, your heart's gonna start beating faster. You like I said, when you get in that fight, you're gonna start getting nervous. But just like after you start training a while, right? You start to get used to that feeling, and you kind of, like I said, you're more comfortable with it, and you can make better decisions without getting so hyped up, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like the first time you start sparring, right? You get punched in the face, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah,
sure. Excuse my language, but
no, go ahead. Yeah.
Like, oh shit, like I don't know what's going on, or you start like kind of freaking out. But then, after, your 500th sparring session, you're like, all right, let's go. You know what I mean?
And you know what's funny? It's not even like after your 500 session, after you get punched in the face, you're like, oh. You know what I mean? You're just kind of like, oh, okay. It's kind of like I used to play football back when I was a kid, and then you'd get the nerves of like the first tackle. After you get tackled once, it's almost like, all right, that wasn't so bad, and then you're just going and going. Now, I want to thread lightly because it's different from like an actual hot situation that we were talking about. If someone's armed or anything like that, I mean, they're apples and oranges. At that point.
Yeah, if somebody's armed, we're obviously not going to go hands on until we can get them unarmed, right?
Yeah.
The goal with somebody that's armed is to create distance, try to de-escalate, and use other tactics, tools, and alternatives.
Can you talk, since you are, and we'll get into it, you are in like the tactical field now from what, John and we're saying, can you kind of go into like, the process of that? Say if someone does have a gun, now I know we're talking about like jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, but this is a whole nother world now, right? I mean, this is like disattached with the projectiles pretty much. Can you give me the basics at least of like what that process is like and how you maybe de-escalate that situation and approach the situation?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what they're doing with the gun, right? So we get calls all the time of, somebody's walking down the street with a gun. Well, are they threatening people, right? That's the first question we need to ask. Are they pointing at somebody? Did they point it at somebody? Things like that. So those things are all indicators, right? Because we'll get calls on people that are literally just open carrying, and aren't causing an issue.
Interesting. Do you get that a lot?
Not a lot, but it happens.
But it happens, yeah.
Now that changes if I go to a call where a guy pointed a gun at somebody and was trying to rob them, right? Or a robbery call. Or if it's an active shooter, like we recently had at LVAC, right?
That's right. Were you there?
I was not there. Like a call like that, right? They showed up, they were ready to go. Those officers did an amazing job.
Yep.
Freaking went up, saw the guy as he was running around with his rifle, and they took care of business.
Yeesh.
So like an active shooter, we're going to be going in that building. If he didn't run out, we were going to go in that building and go after him, right? He's actively killing people. We're going to go after him.
Okay, so before we like move any further, that's interesting. We'll put a halt to like, what we're about to talk about because fuck, that's another layer.
Yeah.
Fuck, dude, that gave me goosebumps, dude. That gave me goosebumps. Just because I can picture myself in that scenario. And quite frankly, I'm not trained for that. You know what I mean? I know we're in combat, but that's, again, it's apples and oranges. Like, that's a completely different mindset that you have to get into. What the fuck do you do, man? Like, what? Take me through, man, because I'm excited to hear this one about, say with that situation, the LVAC, or for the most part, an active shooter. Dude, take me on like the steps of the mindset, the steps, how you're feeling, what's the process, what do you have to follow as far as what you have to do, what's mandatory.
So I can't get into too many of the details.
Yeah, of course.
But
Yeah.
like in general, like we're looking at like if I know there's an active shooter in there, especially once I get a couple officers, we're moving in as a team. We teach tactical, how to tactically enter buildings, move through rooms. If we know exactly where you are, we're going to go right to you and take care of business.
Interesting,
and
yeah.
Like you saw in that call, all the videos that freaking posted everywhere. That guy, was in there shooting at people. They were setting up on the door, getting ready to enter, and the dude, and I believe they saw that he was like at the door. As soon as he came out, they took care of business.
I mean, this is like an urgent kind of thing, right?
we're
I mean,
gonna
he's
get in
straight
there.
up killing people. There's no protocol to where it's like, all right, let's wait, guys. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Can you say anything about that? It's almost like, well, fuck, like this guy's killing people, literally.
Yeah, the goal is to get in there and stop the threat, basically,
Yes,
right?
right.
If there's somebody that's actively shooting somebody, he's killing, systematically killing 3 or more. I think the FBI definition is something along the lines of systematically killing
Yeah.
3 or more people and is not going to stop without police intervention, right?
Yes. Yes.
So I believe it's something along those lines. There's something like that. We're going to get in there. Our goal is to get in there and take care of business.
Yeah. Personally, for you, I know you weren't there at the LVAC shooting. Similar situation? Have you been in that predicament where there was an active shooter like that, and out of all your years in the
not like where I was I mean, I was a baby cop, like brand new when like October 1 happened, and I worked that scene, but I didn't get there until after the shooting was done. Like, I dealt with the aftermath.
Yeah.
So, I've never been in a situation where somebody's actively shooting and I ran in the building, if that's your question.
Yeah. That's pretty much my question, because that would be and
we've been on lots of calls with people with guns, but if they're say there's somebody in their house by themselves and they have a weapon, say they committed a crime, they're in their house, we're not going to go in, and there's nobody else in the house. We can prove there's nobody else in the house. We're not going to go in there. We'll surround the house. We'll try to call them out, etc.
To know someone, and to know someone like you, right, that gets into that involvement in that, it's like, dude, that's real. This shit is real, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the level of training that you have to have, and the level of consciousness awareness that you have to have for that, and quite frankly, the scrotums that you have to have for that is on another level, man. When you were like, say, a baby cop, did you have nerves, man? I know you're a tough motherfucker, but
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first got on, I done a little bit of jiu-jitsu, but not a ton. Like
I remember when when you kind of first got into the scene, right? We were going to Syndicate, right?
Yeah,
Like, that's where you started,
so I started at Villas Bros up on the northwest side, and then about a year in, we moved down near Syndicate. So that was an hour drive to get back up there.
Sure.
So that's when I started training at Syndicate. And that's when I met you.
Yeah, right. And again, we were like babies.
Yeah.
Like as far as training, right? I mean,
I started out at Syndicate. I just gotten my blue belt right when I was leaving.
That's right.
Right when I showed up. So I was a brand new blue belt.
Yeah.
When I started training over at Syndicate. But I didn't really, I mean, I trained a little bit here and there, but not a lot until probably 2 or 3 years in. So I've been training consistently for about 6 years. Since 2019 is when I really started like getting serious about training.
Okay, yeah. You mean like serious as in like it's not just a hobbyist kind of thing anymore. You're just kind of like, dude, I got to do this shit consistently because of work, or
yeah, a little bit of work. I mean, part of it was one, I'd wanted to do it. It just, you always think about, and one of the biggest excuses for cops is, it costs money, right?
Is it? Give me the insight, man. Give me the insight.
So a lot of cops don't train. There's a couple of reasons, but some of the biggest ones are it costs money, which isn't an excuse.
But it's an excuse.
It's an excuse,
right?
Some cops don't want to get hurt. They're worried about getting hurt, and then
kind of valid, but still an excuse, right?
It's still an excuse.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about. There's studies out there that basically show that when you train, you get hurt less. You hurt.
Go for it. Give me those studies, bro.
So I'm not going to give the exact numbers because I don't know them, but like Invictus LEO, if you check out their website, they have a whole bunch of studies that are cop based. So they did one study where they looked at like their whole department started training a bunch of cops. They started training them from the academy all the way up.
Yep.
And it started being very focused. It was through that PJJ program.
Yeah.
And essentially it was jiu-jitsu based. And they started training all their cops, giving them time to train all the time. And then, on duty. And as that progressed, they basically showed that the more the cops trained, their basically hurting the suspects went down. So hurt suspects went down, and cops getting hurt in those kind of violent interactions where you have to go hands on with
when
somebody.
you're tussling. Yeah.
Cops got hurt less, and suspects got hurt less
When they didn't train.
when they did train. So after they started training,
yes.
they looked at before that they started implementing that program, and after they started implementing that training, cops got hurt less in violent incidents, and suspects got hurt less.
Right.
And a lot of that comes down to just decision making in like pressure situations. As well as I do striking, bringing jiu-jitsu, it's high pressure decision making in split seconds, right? Something along those lines.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what's interesting about that is that again, I know it's different from like when you're actually trying to subdue a suspect, and then when you're rolling with your buddies, right?
Yeah.
But then I think even if you get enough practice on the field doing that stuff, like you've been for 10 years, things slow down. Do you get what I'm saying a little bit?
Yeah.
Like when you're training, you're not just paying attention to jiu-jitsu like as a whole. You're like, oh my God, like, I'm tripping out. You're focused on this thing. There's like steps to it. There's structures that calm you down, because it's like, it's almost procedures. It's almost like, well, if I'm getting RNC'd, I'm going to grab like his, the levers of his hand. You're going to hand fight first. There's like steps to it. That's why, that's what I mean by like having it slow down. And I'm pretty sure that's the same in the field, no?
Yeah. I think that's part of it too. I think training jiu-jitsu in general helps a lot. Like we talked about with the confidence, but also like using that. I think Joe Rogan says something about like dire consequences and with split the second decision, something along those lines. But like that's true. As you start to do that in jiu-jitsu, when you get out there in, say police work, or I think honestly anything, and maybe you've noticed it in your career, where you get into like a hectic situation at work, you're able to more calmly think about the situation and make better decisions in those hectic or chaotic situations.
Yes, just because it's experience.
It's experience,
like straight up. And you know what's funny? I was talking to John, Burris about this. What's interesting, getting out of more, not like the police part of it, but when you train, man, you can almost prevent a situation without getting into a situation, because you just have that like vibe and confidence about you. I'm not talking about like bullying people around or staring people down, but then the way you walk and the way you carry yourself, you have your shoulders up a little bit because you train competently, of course, and not just like bar talk with your boys, you know what I mean? But when you train, there's just something about you that it's like evolutionary. There's people that look at you and be like, oh, you don't want to like really fuck with them. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a prevention before the actual prevention. Yeah. Right? Like, what do you think about that? Do you get that? Like, well, with you, you're like, fuck it. I mean, you're massive. You're like a real life Zangief. So I'm sure you don't have a problem with that. But, for me as a smaller guy, I definitely, before I started training, I'd have my head low. I'd have my shoulders down. And people could see that, man. Especially bullies, they'll fucking pick on you if, you're like that. What are your thoughts on that, man?
I agree. I think, confidence and just being able to like I said, the biggest thing is like in those chaotic situations, being able to be calm, hold your head up and make smart decisions and speak in a calm voice, right? We've all rolled with white belts that, you start rolling and you're being gentle and they start spazzing out, going crazy. They're going 100 miles an hour and you're like, da, 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 da. You're sitting there while they're jumping all over, doing somersaults. Like
flying triangles in their first day.
Yeah, exactly.
What they saw from Instagram.
You're dealing with that and you're like, all right, dude, just chill out, just relax. Like it's okay.
Yeah. That's so fucking fascinating. It's funny because the people that seems to be the same thing, right? The spastic beginner that comes in. And look, man, we've all been there. I may have forgot, but we've all been there.
I was when I was a white belt, man, I remember just grabbing onto people's gis and just trying to squeeze them to death.
Oh my God, that's
my
scary.
hands would be shaking and all tore up.
Yeah.
Like
Dude, I remember I needed to mention this because before you came in, I remember rolling with you one time, right? And I'm sure you don't remember this, but then I was doing like a get up, like I had my hand framed on the ground. Literally, man, when you grabbed it as you should, as you should, and then to try to break down like my posture and stuff like that, I thought I broke it just from you fucking grab it. I'm like, this guy is like freakishly strong to the point where I don't know if he knows that just like maybe if you wrist control someone, that you could probably break their hand. Like, I don't know if you're aware of that, but yeah, anyway, I wanted to mention that. I was like, dude, this is crazy. But anyway, yeah, so I guess I want to get into more of like, say, the tactic, because I just find this so intriguing. And of course, say as much as you can, whatever, you're not obligated to anything, but can you talk about more of like maybe your department and what you do? Because I think now we're getting into depths of like, being really tactical with the guns and,
Yeah. So
and how did you get into that? Let's start off there. Like how was that your prerogative? Was that your priority to make it there, or did you just happen to land into like tactical training and with guns?
Kind of just happened. I mean, to a degree.
Yeah.
Well, I started out, going through the academy. I'll be honest, like I struggled a little bit. Like it was a brand new world to me. I was working for Frito-Lay before, putting
You're
chips
working
on
what? Sorry.
for Frito-Lay.
What's that?
Like the chips, like
Frito-Lay.
Doritos.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I was like, what the fuck? Okay.
So I was working for them beforehand, putting chips on shelves,
Sure.
and then always wanted to be a cop when I was a kid. So was looking at, doing that. And
why did you want to be a cop? Let me stop you there.
so like, I always wanted to be a cop from when I was a kid, like for a long time.
Yeah.
And kind of got away from it, followed the whole, you need to go to college thing. And I think I went to like 4 different colleges and got credits at all of them and didn't graduate with any degree and ended up with a whole bunch of stupid, college debt and everything. And I was like, all right, well, this isn't working. So looked for what was next. And I ended up at Frito-Lay just trying to find a job that paid decent. And Frito-Lay paid good. It was crappy hours. You start out at like some days at 2 a.m.
And it was just stocking chips at the grocery store? Where was that? Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So I would I'd deliver chips, check them in at the grocery store, and then I'd go and put them on the shelves, rotate them, set up displays, all that other stuff.
Gotcha.
So holidays were always super busy. So wasn't great for family.
Super Bowls, yeah.
Yeah. And then we'd start out at like 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning, and then you'd work basically all day. So it was a long job. Like I said, it paid well.
Yeah.
But it wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And my brother-in-law was applying down here at Metro. He's like, hey, you should apply with me. So I was like, okay. So got on, applied. I ended up getting hired. He didn't.
It's like, fuck. Yeah.
But I'll be honest. Like it was a new world to me. It's something. I was also, from a small St. George and Cedar City, Utah. So like smaller towns. Like
been there. Yep.
I'd been to Vegas, but never lived here. So I moved down for the job. So different world, different, and I struggled a little bit.
You mean financially?
Not necessarily financially, just with like the curriculum with.
I got you. Like to learn to
learn the job, right?
Yeah.
Now I learned it and I ended up doing it, I think, pretty well, and I do it pretty well now. But be honest, I struggled a little bit. And as that happened, I realized I need to learn more. I need to study more. Because I was coasting. I always coasted.
You were half-assing it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say half-assing, but I wasn't putting my full time and attention into it.
Gotcha.
The academy took a lot of time, and I wasn't spending a lot of extra time trying to, let's say, be a student of the craft, right? So I was doing what was required, and which is what I did in college. I passed classes, but I didn't put a lot of effort into learning a lot more. And I think, especially as a cop, especially nowadays, you have to be a student of the craft.
Absolutely.
After the academy, after that, I think you need to learn to shoot, because I think in general, across the board, shooting, defensive tactics, law, all that stuff, you learn as a cop, you learn in the academy, you learn how to do those, and it's basic. And I think as a student of the craft, you need to go beyond what the department requires, right?
Yes.
So Jiu-Jitsu, I ended up getting into Jiu-Jitsu. I ended up studying a lot more case law and understanding why we do what we do. I ended up starting to shoot a lot, and so I could get good at shooting. I enjoy it all. So that's part of it. I enjoy learning.
I could tell.
I enjoy Jiu-Jitsu. But other than that, as I started to learn it, I saw and I got better. I got better as a cop. I learned the laws. I learned what we were doing, and our FTO program is really good overall. Like, that's
What's FTO for people?
So once you graduate from the academy, you get assigned to, you basically get a trainer as a cop. So you learn all the laws, you learn how how everything works in the academy.
Your Miranda rights or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
all that, the
yeah.
Graham versus Connor, all your laws, your use of force, all that stuff. And then you go out in the field and they put you with a training officer. And we have really good training officers out there that kind of show you the ropes. I had overall all good training officers. And they were able to go through and, they kind of show you the ropes, like how everything's done out in the field, how to deal with, somebody, how to de-escalate in real life, right? So how to actually deal with calls.
Yeah. And how long is that training and how in depth is it? Like they go over like everything? Is it like really hands-on?
So it starts out like you should know by the time you get out of the academy, if you graduate the academy, right? Because there are tests, there are practicals, all that other stuff. You should have a basic understanding of what's going on. You should know the laws. You should have all the basics. It's more like handling calls professionally and the different types of calls. It starts out like they have different phases, but like when you start out and you're just out of the street, it's a lot more hands-on. They're showing you how to do stuff. And the more and more you do it, the less and less they're involved and they more watch you and then kind of critique, kind of make sure you're doing things correctly, right?
Yes.
And by the end, you go on what they call like a solo beat, which is where they'll watch. They may show up on some of your calls, but you're basically your own cop.
You're on your own. Yeah. Interesting. So so continuing with that, man, I know that I'm sure that there's a lot of cops that don't take that initiative to be intentional with their work. You know what I mean? Do the bare minimum, like any other job, right? Like what made you kind of, lock in and say, man, I need more training, I need to learn this shit. Like, what forced you to get better? When did you have that realization?
I would say it started when I was struggling a little bit in the academy. I was like, okay. And when I say struggling, I wasn't doing bad. Like, I just did, like, there were people that knew things better than I did. There were people that, put a lot more effort into it. And I realized I was kind of, having some issues as far as just remembering all the stuff and being able to put it into practice. So like that was kind of eye-opening to me. And then, like I said, you got into field training, you're working with these cops that have been cops for, a lot longer, and they're showing you the ropes, and they're like, they ask you a question, and you're like, I don't know.
You feel incompetent a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Right, I mean, and it's not necessarily to make you feel incompetent, but it's like, hey, if you don't know this, you should, because this is something you're going to deal with consistently. And then they show you if you don't know it, how do you find out? Well, you can, call other officers, you can, look it up in policy. You can look at,
YouTube
those types of things. Yeah. No, you're not
I'm just joking. Yeah.
I
Google it out.
Yeah. So they show you the resources that we have to handle things correctly.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that was the big like wake up call. And then the other thing is you start to, social media is a big one, but like you watch anything, like what makes the news? If I go out on a call and there's a violent subject and I end up grabbing him, take him into custody, even if he's fighting, put him into custody and doesn't get hurt, I don't get hurt, and everything's fine, that doesn't make the news, right? It's when somebody, when something goes wrong, it looks horrible, right? Those are the things that make the news.
The negative stuff.
The negative
Pretty
stuff,
much,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you see those negative things, and I think, police work is unique in the aspect that if one cop does something bad, it kind of reflects on every cop across the nation, almost, all everywhere, right? If one cop in, Florida does something bad, all cops kind of get blamed for it. And
it's like what's going on in LA.
I mean,
right? Like
LA,
like a little bit.
I mean, I don't necessarily think I haven't seen anything the cops do anything bad in LA necessarily. I haven't been following it super close, but I mean,
I guess what I'm saying is like it's a ripple down effect. You know what I mean? It's kind of like what you said. If one person, if something goes on, I guess what I'm really trying to say is that if something happens, not even, with the police department's fault or maybe one guy, exactly what you said, I guess. I'm just rephrasing, what it is. It's a trickle down effect on all police departments, right? Just one example, just to make myself clear that obviously, the George Floyd thing. Right? That's the best example that you can give because it was everywhere. It was mainstream media. And then all of a sudden, the Blue Lives Matter, and all that
blew up
stuff.
all over the country.
It blew up all over. That's really what I mean when I say, one aspect because the media blows it up.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you're canceled or you're,
Yeah.
you know, all
Yeah.
that.
And so then that's one of those like misconceptions, right? Like
Yeah.
we have, X million of freaking encounters where force is used, say in a year. And then you have like, whatever, I don't know the percentage, so I'm not going to give it, but
Sure,
like
sure.
a very low percentage where somebody gets hurt, where it looks bad, where something bad happens, right? So you have, say, a million uses, or let's say 10,000 uses of forces, and nothing happens. A use of force is basically I go hands on with somebody, whether I use a takedown or whatever. So if I have to, strike somebody or use a takedown, any kind of control technique where I have to go hands on where the subject is resisting.
Yep.
So that's a use of force, any kind of reportable use of force.
Mm.
I use a taser, I use a baton, OC spray. All that's like reportable use of force.
Yeah. Even your hands, right?
Yeah, even your hands.
Right.
If there's injury, reported injury, anything like that.
I see. Yep.
So any of those happen, we have a ton of those every year, every day. I'm sure it's happening. But then one goes bad, then everybody looks at you and says, "Oh, well, they're bad." Right.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's what makes the
exactly,
news.
yeah.
That's what everybody sees.
Yeah. It's, fuck. You know what I mean? It's,
Yeah.
I know that we're kind of veering off because, but fuck, it's so important.
Yeah, but
it's
like
so
to
important.
bring that back around, like
Yeah.
you see those, and then you're like, "Oh, I don't ever want to be that." And then
Yes.
so that's when I really started training was, I think gun training is super important. We need it 100%. And
Absolutely,
I think you
agree.
need to train outside the department. I personally try to do it every 2. I mean, if I could do it every week, I would.
I'm
but
sure
like,
you would.
It's like I do it at least every 2 weeks, at least once a month, if not more than that.
Yeah.
And then jiu-jitsu, I do multiple times a week. I try to do a
Yes.
minimum of 3, if not more.
Yeah.
But it just hit and miss based on schedule and work and everything else like that.
This may be kind of a, kind of like a, for you, a simple question to answer, like a basic question to ask. And it might be a little bit of a duh question, but
No, it's
then what do you think is more important as far as like your everyday encounters in the police force? Say if you have to go out in the field, is it gun training or is it hands-on like jiu-jitsu grappling?
I would say you're probably, well, not probably, you're more likely to go hands-on with people multiple times a day than you are to get into a shooting. There's
Gotcha.
cops that have gone
Yep.
for 30 plus years and never been
Without-
into a shooting incident.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I can almost guarantee you, if you've been a cop for 30 years, if you've been a street cop, you've gone hands-on with somebody at least once, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I would definitely say, like, that's one of the reasons my emphasis is on, the jiu-jitsu side of it. Like I said, I love shooting and I think it's super important. I think everybody needs it.
Yep.
But you are going to go hands-on way more often than you are going to get into a shooting.
That's true.
Statistically.
Right. My way of thinking is that, yeah, I agree with that, but then it's almost like if it's like one incident can just pretty much end it all, right? Like when it comes to like a situation with guns and active shooters and projectiles and all that stuff,
100%.
it's like, yeah, there'd be more use of everyday like grappling, say, and using your hands, but damn, just one incident, it's like can turn. That's why I'm very interested in your tactical training, right? Like as far as guns and stuff, because it's life or death, and although it doesn't happen all the time, it's that one time is a big shift change, right? Like even if it doesn't happen to you, it's like you get in the shootout.
Yeah,
Just that tactical training alone is just massive.
100%. And like I said, it's super important. Like you need to be able to go out there and train. You need to be proficient with your weapon system.
Yeah.
Any tool that you carry, I'm a firm believer that you need to know how to use it, how to deal with it if it fails. So like firearms, we always train, failure drills. So if the gun jams, if you get a double feed, how to work through those and how to get back up on your gun.
Sheesh, dude.
You learn how to shoot. You learn how to shoot accurate, right? Because we always talk about it, but like bad guy, right? A bad guy can fire 20 rounds at you and miss every single round.
Yep.
And not saying that he would, but doesn't matter where he hits. As cops, we're accountable for every single round. So I have to be accurate with my shots. I have to be able to identify my target. I have to make sure there's no kids behind him, make sure there's nothing behind him, and then put accurate rounds down range.
Yeah, you don't have your gun sideways and just pop it off.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very, very detailed. Like as far as you need to. So are you saying you need to account for every bullet that you shoot?
Yes.
Right, pretty much because of like reports and all
reports,
that.
but just, I mean, you think about, if there's a shooting and a cop shoots a civilian or somebody
Oh, yeah,
misses,
yeah.
like all those things are horrible, right? And not that he's intending to shoot a civilian, but if he's shooting at somebody that needs to be shot and he misses, where does that round go, right? And could it hit a civilian? Could it hit, and by civilian, I just mean any of the public. Could it hit, anybody else? Like, where does it go?
Right. That's true. Yeah. I mean, man, I don't know why I didn't think of that. Like the civilians around, I was like tunnel visioned into the police officer versus the shooter. You know what I mean? I mean, but I guess, there's all those aspects. It's like if a bullet happens to maybe ricochet or something, and all that, and what wall it's going into, like that's a crazy. Yeah. So anyway, can you talk more about like going back to it, I guess, your like tactical training? Like I think that's very very specific, like very in depth of like
what specifically with the tactical?
Is there a certain level, like, is it mandatory to train, the tactical, like, I know that they teach you that in the academy, right? Like basic training, but then what you teach, is it for a separate, I guess you could say, like a special units?
No, so I work for our MACTAC section right now, which is,
and what is that?
So it's our, basically we teach active shooter response.
Gotcha.
So we teach a couple of things, but it's active shooter response. We teach like TCCC, so like tactical medicine, like tourniquets, chest seals, wound packing, stuff like that. Stuff that we may do like in the field if somebody gets shot.
Yeah, right.
Quick medicine to get somebody to live to where they can get to the hospital and get, better, or to an ambulance to get better medical care, that kind of stuff. So yes, as far as like what's required, all our officers go through that training. And when we put on training every year. They have to go through it every year. It's a little bit different because we have, a vast amount of things that we cover, but we put them through a couple of hours every year to go through, active shooter response, all that stuff.
And I'm sorry, is that mandatory or?
It's mandatory, yes.
It's
so
mandatory,
every patrol officer, basic detectives are going through that and getting, basically it's more of a refresher, but like it's, so you're up to date with what we're teaching, like up to date on how to respond. And like the tactics and just being fresh on it. Right.
Yeah. Right.
So that we basically run essentially our whole department as far as, officers go through that training every year.
Oh, interesting. I thought it was like some special forces, like, a special unit of like the police department, like SWAT or something.
Yeah. So our SWAT guys train a ton. Like that's all they do, right? They train and they do, all their SWAT-y cool guy stuff.
Sure.
So like our level is like, we simplify a lot of the stuff because you think about like an active shooter, as soon as you arrive, you may be that first arriving officer, right?
Yeah.
SWAT's going to get there, but they're not going to be there as fast, right? They're going to be rolling as soon as, if there's an active shooter, they start rolling right away and they're going to go in and do their thing. But most likely the first person that's going to arrive is going to be that patrol officer.
Yes.
So what we teach is basically stuff specifically for that baseline patrol officer.
Oh,
so
okay. Yeah.
Patrol officers that show up. So we teach simplify, room clearing, all that other stuff, how to go after that threat safely, or as safely as possible. Let's put it that way. Like it's not safe.
Yeah.
But like how to do it tactfully and how to do it, working as a team and individually.
And they don't teach you that at the like when you start the academy, right? Like it's not the level, like I'm sure they teach you some tactical stuff in the police academy, but not to that certain extent.
They do. They actually get like at the end of the academy, they come up to the training bureau for like a full week, and they go through a whole bunch of like all that training, like I was talking about, and so they get a lot of that. And then they also spend time with some of our SWAT team guys, so they get run through some training with them. So the academy goes through a lot of stuff, and they get a lot of really good training throughout our academy.
Oh, interesting. Because, personally from like me to you, just to be transparent, it's almost like I hear a lot, and I'm looking from outside in, right? I hear a lot of bashing in the academy. It's almost like you get this level of training and then they just send you off. Do you think that's true, correct? I mean, I've heard that from the grapevines, which, obviously I'm not going to say is that, not enough training, or is it like just the right amount of training?
It's hard to say, like, what is the right amount of training? Like, obviously, like, you could sit there and train for 3 years, and could that be enough training? I don't know. Our academy, I think, is about 6 months, give or take a little bit, 6 or 7 months now. I think you learn a lot, and if you are able to, grasp the concepts they teach, I think they teach enough, because I think once you get out in the field, that's where you really learn to be a cop, right?
Yeah.
You learn the law. The academy's there, so you learn laws, you learn kind of the basics, you learn procedures. But then when you learn to be a cop in the field, right, you learn with your FTO. Your FTO teaches you how to really be a cop, how to handle calls, how to deal with, dynamic situations, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only way you could get good at it is just to do it, right? To be out in the field and get real life experience.
Yeah.
And not just like the training itself. I mean, the training is very important, obviously, but to be out in the field and to be able to kind of implement what you learned through that training is the best way to do it. Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think just because of, I bring this up because I think there's still kind of like a pushback from what's happened in COVID and stuff like that. And they're like, yeah, maybe cops need more training and, all that. And then that keeps sticking to my head. That's why I like to talk to police officers like you that's on the field, been doing it for 10 years in tactical training. You know what I mean? And it's like, you still kind of get that, well, do police get enough training? That's honestly why I wanted to have, 3 or 4 cops to talk to and get a real insight of what they really think, Yeah.
I mean, I'll be straight up honest. I think that basically there's no department out there that gives you enough training, right? As a straight up cop, you have to know everything. You have to be, basically know all the laws specifically really well. You have to be able to handle yourself in a fight with some striking, with taking people to the ground, controlling people. Every fight starts on the feet, as they say. So takedowns.
You're not a butt scooter, Kim?
I mean, sometimes in jiu-jitsu,
you know what I mean? I was just joking.
Yeah, that's over in this box.
Okay. Yeah, go on. I'm sorry, man.
No, you're all good. You're all good.
Yeah.
But I think there's just there's never enough training, right? Like, this is a profession where you're always could be scrutinized for everything you do. What worked today.
That's a big one. Yeah.
What worked with some person today may not work with another person tomorrow, right? So the same thing doesn't work all the time. The main thing is you have to stay within, the laws, stay within the guidelines, stay within your department policy. But I think, and like, I'm a brown belt now in jiu-jitsu, been training for consistently since, like I said, 2019. So that's about 6 years, about 6 years. Yep. So I think, that you need to train, like, you have to train outside of work. As well as I do, like, the more you train, the better you get. And if you take time off, you kind of come back and you're a little bit rusty, right?
Bro,
like,
you're really rusty. It's not even like, that's an understatement. Yeah.
You get an injury and you can't train for like a month or two, and then you come back and you're like, oh, my timing's a little bit off.
Yeah, you're right.
I feel sluggish.
You're a little bit more fidgety too. Because, right? Like, you're not as flowy as we talked about. You're like, not a white belt again, but you're like, you're trying to up the other guy because you just lost your flow a little bit.
Yeah. You're trying to find that timing. Timing is generally how I think. I'm like, okay, do I need to do this different or do this different, right?
Yeah.
Or did I do that too early? Or, oh man, I always get this pass. How did I not get this pass? Especially when you're like rolling with somebody that you usually like beat, and then they're like getting one up on you. You're like, son of a gun.
That's interesting, right? And the interesting part about that, dude, is that, I mean, I guess it's just ego, right? It's almost because since you had that thought of like someone that you usually like, get the upper hand on, and then all of a sudden they're beating you, you're thinking about it. It's like, wait a minute, I usually get this guy. And now it's not, 100%. I mean, go ahead.
And it's the same thing with shooting. Like, you shoot consistently for a long time and you get good, but then you take, a couple months off or time off, and then you come back and you're like, oh, I'm rusty. I'm a little bit slower than I used to be. True. I'm getting back in that groove. Like, you look at the best guys in the world at anything, right? And since we're, jiu-jitsu, right? Sure. You're looking at like Gordon Ryan, all those guys. What are they doing? They're training every day, I know, 6, 7 days a week, sometimes 2 times a day. Not always super intense, but they're always getting that reps in.
Yeah.
Same thing with shooters. You look
touches,
at the best,
right? Yeah.
You look at the best shooters in the world. They're dry firing. They're doing, they're shooting almost every day, if not every day. And if they're not shooting, they're doing some kind of dry fire, empty, round practice, gun manipulations.
Yes.
And that's how they're the best guys in the world. They're doing it every day. They're getting that, quote unquote muscle memory.
Yep.
Where it's, second nature to do those movements, and they're doing it smooth and fast. And same thing with jiu-jitsu or striking, right? All those guys are doing it consistently. And as soon as you take some time off, you go back to it and you're like, okay, shoot, I've got to kind of fix that. And and you take all those things, right? The best, shooting, jiu-jitsu, striking. Now you're going to add, some study. So you're going to do case law for cops. Some kind of de-escalation training because you need to be able to de-escalate, communicate with people, right? Talk to them, try to, if we don't have to, like I said earlier, if we don't have to go hands-on, I don't want to, right? If I can talk you down and take you into custody peacefully, that's my goal, right?
Yep.
So de-escalation training, now you add all those, and now you've got, so that's all on the work side. Oops, sorry. That's all on the work side. And then you've got wife, kids, family, family time, vacation time, all that.
Sheesh.
So now you've got, and work, you've got work, and then you've got family, and then you've got somewhere in between where with your free time, you've got to train something. What are you training?
Right.
And how do you balance that out?
How do you balance that out, Cam?
It's hard.
Yeah. Oh, what's personally for you with the police training that you have to do to keep up, and with jiu-jitsu, with family, what's your personal process in doing that? Like, how do you structure that? Personally for you. I know everyone's.
I get you.
Yeah,
So personally for me, like I really enjoy doing jits. Like that's one of my, it's a good hobby. It keeps me in shape. I enjoy working out too. So now you added that one in too. So working out,
like lifting weights.
Yeah. Working out. Yeah. So lifting weights, jiu-jitsu, striking, guns. I try to find time for it. Like I try to say, okay, I'm going to do this at least this many times a week or this many times a month. So like I talked about, like for me, depending on what's going on with family and life and everything, I try to do jiu-jitsu, like I said, at least 3 to 4 times a week if I can.
Yep.
Sometimes it doesn't always work out, but that's my goal, 3 to 4 times a week. Yeah. I mean, there's some weeks where it works out and I get more, if I take time off or,
I have nothing better to do. All right, let's go jits. Yeah,
exactly. Striking, I try to do a couple times a month. So try to do at least once a week or every other week.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
When I noticed like a change actually in your Instagram, and you started, in your stories too. And I think it's fucking awesome. You started striking. And, I only say that like in a not shocked kind of way, but I'm like, when we were going to syndicate, it was like pure jiu-jitsu, right? Yeah. When did you have that revelation of like, okay, I want to get into striking? Or was it like, oh, I just want to do it for fun? Or was
I've been striking. Like even when I was at syndicate, I went to the Muay Thai class a couple of times. Like it wasn't like my favorite thing, but I did do it occasionally, just very rarely. And then
are you more into it now, or would you say? Or
I would say I'm trying to do it more now.
Okay.
I definitely I want to do it more. Like I need to do it more. Okay. You know what I mean? Like I look at where I'm at. I think part of it's like I'm pretty good at jiu-jitsu. I'm not great, but I'm good.
You're good.
Okay. Don't worry. I'm good. I'm good, but I'm not great, right? Like,
don't worry about it. I mean, just say what you gotta say.
No, there's levels. Like
there's levels.
Like
yeah,
there's still
true.
Guys. There's pro guys that will absolutely, especially heavyweight guys. Like
of course,
I'll roll with like Big Dan and stuff, and like just absolutely demolishes me. Like
that's what keeps us humble.
Yeah. Vince, he trains at B Team. Like that guy will freaking smash me. Like I love it though. Like those are the roles that I love to get, just because. It keeps me humble, right? Like I'll go to certain places and I'll, smash guys, and then I go and get smashed. I'm like, oh, this is what I need.
right.
Yeah.
It's humility. It's a humbling experience.
And that's why I like Zangief. Zangief's got a bunch of 200 plus pound black belts that, are just monsters.
Jeez.
So that's why I like to train in there a lot.
Did you just happen to run into Zangief, or was that a gym that you chose particularly like, hey, I want to go here? Or was it like, oh, it's near my house? You know what I mean?
So I started training there a while, like when I was still training at Syndicate, I started going over there a little bit. Because Syndicate, for a long time, especially when I first started, there was a lot of big guys. There's
Cody.
Cody was one of them. Yeah, Josh Watson.
Watson. Yep. That's right.
Jake was there. Will was there. Right. So we had a bunch of like Jake and Josh and I were always like right there. We were always head to head for a long time. But then Josh started doing the bare knuckle thing, so he kind of stopped showing up. I mean, he still showed up occasionally, but he was mainly focusing on his boxing career for bare knuckle boxing. Jake ended up having his knee surgery stuff, so he kind of went out. And it was me and Will, and Will's gotten really good.
Will's gotten really good. And he's doing MMA now, too.
He's doing MMA.
Right, So that's another aspect to, like, the game.
Yeah. So, like, so at that time, there really wasn't a lot of big guys left. And so I was trying to find, so it was hard to find guys to roll with, one. And then two, just guys that, like, could give me a hard time that weren't, little tiny dudes that were just really good black belts, right?
Right. It's a different kind of role, right?
Yes, it's a different role.
Yeah.
And like, especially as a big guy, like you go to tournaments and you roll with big guys that don't roll with big guys, you can tell because they're big, but they don't know how to use their weight right because they're usually rolling with little guys, so they're kind of controlling their weight or they're not using it right.
They're like not applying the right pressure.
Yes,
Right.
Usually just their weight's enough pressure on most people.
Right. Yeah. That's so fascinating, man.
Yeah,
That's so fascinating. Yeah.
So that's why I ended up started to train over at Zangief, was just because the bodies were there and they just, I mean, at the time, I was getting smashed. Now I'm pretty competitive with most of those guys.
Yeah, you got kind of like this tall girl syndrome. And what I mean by that is that like for taller girls, right? This is, I don't know where, this is like random evolutionary stuff, but then usually like girls like guys taller than them, right? And I promise this will come in full circle.
Yeah, you're good.
But then, so what I mean is that like they try to find taller guys than them. The problem is there's not a lot of taller guys, like say in WNBA.
Yeah.
It's like, how many 7'5" guys are you gonna find when you're 7 feet tall?
Yeah.
That's kind of like you, because you're in that echelon of like being big, you're, agile, mobile, and then your experience now being as a brown belt. It's hard to find like bigger guys. Like you said, that's why you went, to Zangief, because you can match up with them, right? Yeah, so that's what I mean by like the tall girl syndrome, where it's like, well, I need to find similar people like me. But then when you go to gyms, mostly they're like a little bit shorter than you, right? You know what I mean? You're getting into that category of like, it's getting harder and harder to find, is what I'm saying, which is, I think, interesting.
I mean, in Vegas is nice because there's literally gyms on every other corner, at least jiu-jitsu gyms everywhere.
By capital of the world. Yeah.
So kind of circling back. So like jiu-jitsu, I really enjoy. The shooting, like I said, I kind of schedule out, try to do it at least twice a week. I just, in my head, I'm like, okay, cool. I didn't do it last week. I need to do it this week. And I go with the principle of like little a lot. So like I try to train a little bit, a lot. So consistency over time, right? So I don't need to, it's like the guy that doesn't know how to train, work out, right? He goes to the gym one day, big dude, maybe, overweight, and he goes super intense one day.
Yes.
And then he can't move for 3 weeks.
Right.
That's not what you're doing. You won't need to do it. Go a little bit, right? The first time you go, you need to start training. So I'll go shoot for an hour, maybe 2 hours if I'm feeling it. But that's it, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
And same thing with jits. Like if I can go for 1 to 2 hours and get some good training in, I'm happy. I don't need to be sitting there for 6 hours doing jujitsu. 6 hours a day. If I can train a little bit, a lot, and consistently. So a little bit, as in a short amount of time. Short relative, like enough to where I'm still learning, getting something.
Sure.
But consistently over time, then I'm going to get better.
Right. Yeah. And you know what I kind of feel like you were saying there a little bit, how I interpreted it, is like sustainability.
Yeah, that's another part of it too.
Yeah, you were telling me, like what you said, and it really hit me because, man, I really feel that, because that's what I'm 40 now, right? And you say you're getting older, 36, which it's still, you're kind of a baby still. You know what I mean? It's like
it's 4 years, but
a big ass baby. Let's not get it twisted. But yeah, it's so being at our age now and having a job, having a family, and you're kind of working through that, the courses of life, I guess you could say. Yeah, it's like you have a job to do, you got to make money, and then it's the sustainability. Personally for me, and I've told Jerry this admittedly, and I know, Jerry's program has got like, let's go. You know what I mean? Like on Fridays, we go like 20 rounds, whatever. But for me, man, I'll still get those 13 rounds in on Friday. But for me personally, it's not a car crash every time.
Yeah.
I'm moving. Sometimes I'll go like literally 40%. Call me lazy, whatever. But it's what fits like my body and how I'm feeling at that time. I'm more aware of like, oh, okay, hold on, man. I kind of feel this tweak real quick. And then if I fucking break my arm, I'll be out for 6 months. And guess what? I'm not rolling for 6 months. You know what I mean?
And, ego's a big part of that. Like I remember so when I first started training at Syndicate, there was a dude there, and I forget his name. Can't remember if he's like Hawaiian or Native American, but he's a pro wrestler dude, and he's short, but he's stocky, like bigger built than I was, but a little bit shorter than I was. And we were rolling, and he was strong, super strong dude. Like I said, built bigger, wider than I was, and put me in like this. I think it was just like a headlock or something. It was headlock or something like that, and it hurt. And I was like, But I'm like, this isn't going to stop me. Like, I'm not going to tap to this. And it hurt, but like, it wasn't nothing to tap to.
Sure.
But he held me there and I couldn't get out for like 3 minutes till the round was over. And by the end of it, I couldn't move my neck for like 3 or 4 days. It was like, it was so bad. And I'm like,
sure.
And now I've been in those situations since, rarely, but like I'll be in some of those situations. I'm like, I'll just tap. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm not learning anything from this. Like, if I was in a competition or a fight, like I'm not going to tap to this.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm not winning anything like this. Like I'd rather be able to turn my head tomorrow. I'd rather be able to roll tomorrow. I'll just tap and then we can reset and we can actually both get better.
You're right. 100% on point. I like recently I did a podcast with my friend Nick, and I actually passed out. Right. And the thing is that
during the podcast, you passed?
No.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. No.
I was like, I want that video.
no. When we were rolling, long story short, I passed out. Like he had me in the head and arm.
Oh, okay.
And the thing was that I knew he had it, right? Like it was tight. He adjusted. Like I had a little bit of space, but then he adjusted, and I was like, oh, I'm in trouble. And then I bridged out a little bit. I was like, oh wait, I could get out of this, right?
Yeah.
But then, to your point, he had me.
Yeah.
Let's call it what it is. But
Yeah.
the ego thing's like, I don't want to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
and not just particularly him.
Yeah.
It's just even with guys better than me,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to tap here because in some sort of way, I could kind of find my way out. Now, if I was going against like Jerry and then he had it, I'd be like, okay, well, I'm not getting out of this, or Shane or something, you know?
Yeah. Well, and it depends too. Like if it's somebody that you're like really competitive against, like
You're right.
It's usually like, I'm going to try a little bit harder, right? But if it's like somebody that like, because for me, a lot of times now, it's just because, you know, a lot of people, you know, like especially open rolls, people, you know, you're like, oh, hey, you want to roll? And they're like, oh,
right. It's like,
so,
I got someone.
Yeah. So like I'll roll with like newer guys or like smaller guys. So like I'll let them put me in bad positions,
of course,
just to like work out. But like there's sometimes where like I said, they'll put me in a bad position. I'll let them get me in a bad position. Then I'm like, okay, now I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I wouldn't normally tap to this, but this guy is squeezing with, you know, all his might. And usually I'll get out. I'll be honest. Most of the time I get out. But like sometimes I won't. Or like when like I said, when I'm rolling with some of the bigger, like actual like ADCC type dudes, like I think I've tapped to pressure in like the last like 3 years, like twice, maybe 3 times.
You mean like getting mother's milk or something? You mean that kind of pressure
or like
something?
just squeeze, like, you know,
right? Because it's uncomfortable, or you were just like, we're not going anywhere here. Like,
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like more often now, just like because I'm not getting any. Like
I see. It's like I'm just stuck in this position.
I'm stuck. It's painful, and I'm not gonna learn anything, and you're not.
My neck's
anything.
gonna hurt. Yeah.
So like, I mean, but it's usually those top level ADCC guys that are doing that type of tapping. Right?
Yeah.
Normally, and like if I'm competitive, if I'm got energy, like I'll fight it, and let the time run out because. You know, I've still got a little bit of ego to where, like, I'm like, I rolled with him for 10 minutes and he didn't tap me. He beat the crap out of me, but
I didn't tap.
Yeah, exactly. And which he should. He's an ADCC, you know, freaking level guy. He was an ADCC, like, so that makes you feel good. Like, oh yeah. But then, you know, I'll roll with him again later in the night or whatever, and then he smashes me because I'm exhausted and he's, you know, got a gas tank of.
Yeah, and sometimes you just have those days no matter what. You just get you get out of bed, or you get out in the wrong side of the bed, and then you're just not that you're angry, but then you're just not feeling it. Your body's tired for some reason. Then you got great sleep, but then you're just off. You know, brain fog. It's like I go into training sometimes. I'm like, I don't want to do this shit. Yeah, but I'm still there. I'm on autopilot. Yeah. You know, and then that's where the ego thing kicks in, and then people are murking you. I'm like, fuck.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. But dude, I really enjoyed this conversation, man. And you brought.
Can I add one thing?
Dude, let's go.
So kind of to round back out. So striking, because I don't know if I answer that question.
Yep.
So Jiu-Jitsu, I got really good at Jiu-Jitsu, but then like I'm an adjunct instructor in our defensive tactics, right? So I teach different squads defensive tactics, and I saw that certain guys that, like there's guys on our department that, you know, we have guys that are former UFC fighters, guys that are, you know, that are former like boxers, like really good strikers and really good jiu-jitsu guys. We have lots of black belts. Experienced guys. But like when I would go and teach striking, you know, and usually I defer to them. Like if there's one of those guys in the room that's, you know, been a UFC fighter or been a, you know, you got a lot of striking experience. I'm like, okay, cool. Hey, is there anything you want to add? And usually they do, but like, when there's somebody that can destroy on the ground, but like then we stand up and we're just doing pure stand up, I'm getting smashed. And especially when it's like smaller guys like your size, I'm like, what, man, I got to get better at this.
It's rough. It's rough, man. Look, the thing about striking, and I'm glad you brought that up, man. I mean, fuck, like, I didn't know you want to add that in, but bro, when I first went to Syndicate, and then I'd go, on Saturdays and go with all these pro guys, David, King David, and other people. It's literally like you're getting tortured on the feet. There's no way of getting out because they'll cut you off, their circle, they'll clinch you, and then you'll get tired, and then your hands will go down biologically because there's all this, like, you can't keep them up anymore. It's kind of like going with, like, I can only imagine, I've never gone with him, but Joe Schilling. He'll just fuck you up. And he doesn't have to knock you out, right? Like a lot of people that don't train, they're like, I want to go for the knockouts and stuff like that. But then they're just picking you apart with their hands. Boom, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden, that's how boxers get brain damage. They're just on their feet getting hit up.
Yeah, I remember because I used to stay, like, Saturdays, I don't know if they still do it, but Syndicate, they do the 1 to 2 hours of jiu-jitsu open mat, and then they would do striking open mat right after. So I remember staying after a bunch of times, and like I'd be getting guys, like I said, your size, smaller, and like they just piece me. Like, and we're not going hard, right? Like it's sparring, but like we're not going hard. But like I just remember just getting picked apart, like body kick, just because a lot of those guys, they'll be gentle to the face, but then your stomach, your body shots are pretty hard.
Or leg kicks.
And leg kicks, And I'm like, I'm twice this dude's size. If I could grab him and take him down, I'd have a chance. But like, if there was like, hey, we're just striking, like I'm in trouble. Like,
but brother, even at that, like the high level MMA guys, that's the thought process, right? If you could grab them because you're very competent in jiu-jitsu and you have all this experience, try grabbing them though, man. If you shoot for a takedown, there's knees, there's elbows 100%. Before you get it's like, it's a whole nother world that people think, or that people don't understand, because as you see in the UFCs, people just want to go for knockouts, right? But they don't know what's going on the feet, the positioning, going southpaw, hand fighting even, you know, like Alex Pereira.
You know who Chris Kennedy is?
No.
Big fighter back, like old time fighter. He works for our department now, but like he used to train with him occasionally. I still do occasionally, but like we were doing some MMA rounds and we did this drill. He's like, all I want you to do is try to take me down. So we've got gloves on, and he's like, I'm just going to try to keep you from taking me down. I'm like, okay, cool. And I could not take him down because I'd get his leg, I'd freaking, we'd strike a little bit, and I'd go for the shot, and freaking every time he'd just start nailing me to the ribs, and like it's like I'd let go. I'm like, fuck, that's not worth it.
It's the worst thing, because if they know your intentions, say if you're a grappler and they know that, right, in particular, I've gotten cut here from doing that. Like, I had to get stitches, 12 stitches actually. And the knees and the elbows is where that really fucks you up. Like coming in close, you'll shoot a double leg. You'll probably distract them with some jabs, and then you shoot You don't think they know that though, man? With high level, especially if they have good wrestling defense. It's like, forget about it.
He was a solid fighter. Like he was good, and like we were going relatively, like it was a sparring session, but like it was still like he knew, like I had one goal and he had one goal. My goal was to take him down. His was not to let me take him down. And I got his leg once or twice, but like just with the strikes and his defense, I was just sitting there eating them, trying to get him to go down. And like, but it was a really good experience. Like you said, like then it's like, okay, now I know that I can't just grab anybody and take them down if they have training.
Right.
And
exactly.
and that's another reason why I started wanting to do a little bit more striking and sparring and a little bit more of that stuff. Cause it's a different world.
Dude. Yeah. That's awesome that you said that, because I wish more people would actually talk about that. That's the first time, legit. I'm glad you actually cut me off from like stopping this podcast, because we're past an hour. But, bro, like I wish more people would understand that, because, dude, that's a level of awareness that people have to know. Is that like, like a striker isn't just, let me hit you with the power shot and all that, dude. They can literally just stop you and kind of like jiu-jitsu, when you're holding someone to the ground, you don't know what to do. You feel like you're drowning. That's exactly like striking. They're picking you apart and you can't get out.
100%.
And then they can destroy you. They can do that knockout anytime they want. You know what I mean?
100%.
It's like, dude, it's so crazy. But hey, man, any last words, man? Like anything that you want to get out there? I know you. What about this, man? What's your biggest? I know this is kind of like a police segment, but then let's stick to BJJ. What's your biggest tip, man? Like, what have you learned through your journey that you're implementing now currently? Like where your level is at as of right now?
I mean, it depends on like I would just say study. Like I think watching tape and like breaking down, watching stuff.
Okay, I like that. Yeah.
Like actually learn, like, because you go to jiu-jitsu class and you learn whatever the move of the day is, and maybe you get stuck in a spot, and maybe you go ask your instructor, hey, how do I get? But like really studying, like, hey, I am getting stuck. I like, honestly, if I can, I like to film myself and just go back and I'll watch that tape.
Right.
And I'm like, cool, this is where I'm getting stuck consistently. And I can watch, 2 to 3 matches against guys that are better than me or on my level. And I'm like, okay, cool, this is my issue. And I can go back and like look up, YouTube videos or look up instructionals on Fanatics or go ask the instructor. If I've got a good instructor, I can go back and be like, hey, and I can even show them the video. I'm like, hey, I'm getting stuck here. What do I need to do here to fix this? And so I think really just being intentional with what you're studying.
I like the word intentional. I like that. Yeah.
So learning whatever the move of the day is, obviously be respectful. Don't just be like,
do whatever you want.
Coach, I need to learn this. Teach me this week. Right. But like, be respectful, learn, because it's probably something you need, be honest. And if it's something you already know, he's probably fine tuning some things. But then afterwards, go in and then also do like I said, being intentional, do situational roles in that position after you learn what you need to do. I always try, like, if I ask my instructor something, I try to film what he's showing so then I can go back and view it. Because how many times has somebody shown you've asked somebody a question, like somebody better, and they're like, oh, you need to do this, this, and this, and maybe there's 4 or 5 like steps. And then you go and do it and you're missing 2 or 3 steps and you're like, crap, and I can't do it because I'm doing something wrong. And you go back and if I can watch that video, I'm like, oh, I missed step 2 and 3. That's what I'm missing. And then I'll go back and do that. That way I don't have to ask them 6 times.
Yeah. It seems overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
Like at times, but yeah, I mean, I think when it boils down to it, and at your level, that's a level of awareness that people, don't have when they first start. But yeah, you'll pick it up soon. Like you'll have your own training methods. But I think that's great advice. It's just like, just be intentional, I think is the word that stuck out to me. Like, look, don't just go on autopilot. Work on the things that you really need to work on. I know that seems like basic, advice, but really that's what it comes down to is that really be intentional with what you need to work on.
Yeah.
So man, what a great podcast, man. I appreciate your time.
Oh, anytime.
And damn, this was a banger.
Oh,
straight up.
glad,
Like this is a
dude.
banger.
Appreciate it, dude.
Let's go. Dude, you almost broke my hand.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
Instagram is Cam the Operator.
Yep.
So Cam_the_operator, Cam the Operator.
Yep.
Post a lot of police stuff and stupid, funny stuff. And
you better believe I'm going to have those on the show notes. And then
cool.
I have it up on the edit where it goes up, on the Instagram.
I'm good.
Yeah, no, but hey, spit your shit. You know what I mean? But I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, thank you.